Hello guys, welcome back. I hope everyone is doing great. So in today's video, we're talking about the house of Perfumehead. It's a perfume house out of Los Angeles in the US, and I have a sample set here. It's called The Icons. There are 9 fragrances in the sample set. I think I got this about a month ago, and I did play around with some of the samples, so it's not a first impression, although I hardly remember what a lot of these smell like. There are a few, I would say 3 for sure, that I really like. I did end up with a full bottle between getting the sample set and today's video, and there's one that I am in love with in the sample set, and there is another one that might be on my wish list. However, as some of you may already know, if you're familiar with the House of Perfumehead, they are very expensive fragrances. Now, they all are extrait de parfum in concentration. So yes, there's a high percentage of oils in these fragrances. And from my early impressions, they do come off high quality. I'm not loving all of them, but I do like quite a few of these. They are high quality, yes, but they are quite expensive. And I did go on the official website just to get the prices before the video so that I could give you guys the information. And the 30 ml is $250, the 50 ml is $395, and the 100 ml is $615. There is a roll-on, a travel size, it's an oil, and that's $115. I did get a full bottle. I did not pay retail. I will fill you guys in on where I got my bottle when we get to that fragrance. So without further ado, let's get to the fragrances. And I put them in the order of my least favorites to the more favorite fragrances towards the end of the video. So let's start with the one called Somewhere, and this is a citrus-based fragrance. I think there's neroli in here, there is galbanum, there's moss in the base. I think it's a little bit musky as well. There's vetiver. From my recollection, it is a citrusy sort of fresh fragrance and not one of my favorites. It's clean. I do get that neroli. It's a little bit floral. It's a little bit full-bodied, so it's not a musky fragrance that's see-through, transparent, and translucent and super light. There is some substance to the fragrance. I also get green touches in here as well. So it's a very natural, sort of fresh, green smelling fragrance that has some powdery touches as well. So powdery, a little floral, fresh, sort of citrusy, but with other touches that bring the citruses down a bit so that it's not super zingy. And it's very round, and the green touches are nice. It does smell very natural and fresh. I find it very ordinary. I would not pay what they're charging for this scent profile. Yes, it's nice, it's fresh, it's well done. So that's Somewhere. So the next one is called Alone Together, which I kind of like. I like that name. And this is also a citrus fragrance, but it's more of a woody citrus fragrance. So it's a little bit of a twist from the freshness with the neroli and the vetiver and the galbanum in the first one. This one is a little different. Now this one, unfortunately, is my absolute least favorite in this entire line of fragrances. Of the 9, this is my least favorite. I should have started with this one. So the first one, while I feel that it's not necessarily my favorite, that's only because I find it ordinary and I would not pay these prices for that sort of scent profile, but it's nice. This one is an absolute no. It opens with this citrus that to me smells like kitchen cleaner, like a citrus kitchen lemony scented cleaner, household cleaner. And I just can't get past that. And then together with this is something almost a little bit medicinal, and you have these woody components in the backdrop, but it's mostly about this lemon and it comes off like a household cleaner. So I can't get past that. This is definitely not something that I would be interested in. You do have these aromatic touches in here. There's lavender and there's basil. So it's a very interesting perfume, but it's predominantly lemon. There's almost something a little bit smoky in the backdrop, but it is a bright lemon at the forefront of this fragrance with this sort of woody, aromatic with something almost a little bit smoky in the background as it develops. It's very strange. I find this to be a very strange fragrance. Now, I have changed my mind with fragrances that I've said no and then I say yes. I have videos about that. I don't think you'll ever see this one in one of those videos, but one never knows. So that is Alone Together. The next one is called Canadian Tuxedo. Now this is popular. This is a favorite. I think a lot of people like this one. For me, it's a like, but not a love. It's okay. My first impression was negative. I think I sprayed this a second time, but I don't really recall what it smells like exactly. Okay, this is very spicy, aromatic, spicy. What is not really to my liking about this fragrance is that it seems like it goes into the direction of kitchen spices, like cooking spices, and it gets too culinary. It is ambery. So as it warms up, it does seem a little bit boozy and ambery and warm. It's definitely giving like a cozy, warm scent profile, a cozy, warm sort of feel and vibe, but with aromatic spices that are almost culinary to my nose, at least. That's the experience that I get. It's not the kind of spicy fragrance that I like. I like spicy fragrances. Serge Lutens uses a lot of clove. They use spices. Amouage uses spices, but this is different. Now, it could be the cumin in here. It could be the cumin that's sort of overtaking, and that's what's striking my nose. I know there's coriander. I think there's bay leaf, so it smells sort of aromatic, herbal in a way, and maybe it's the cumin. And it is ambery. There is a little bit of sweetness. So in the backdrop, you have an ambery sort of base. Yeah, so it's an aromatic, ambery fragrance. Think coriander, think cumin. It's really not my taste in fragrance, although I can appreciate what it's doing. I think it's well done. I think it's smooth. I think it's round. And I can see why people like this. This is one that I would revisit. This is one that I would try again. Maybe that cumin, maybe that sort of spice in the fragrance that's striking me as a little bit too culinary. Maybe I would get used to it and it wouldn't strike me as something off-putting in the fragrance. So that's Canadian Tuxedo. So the next one is a floral fragrance, and this is called Moonflower. And like I said, these are all extrait in concentration. And this one I recall kind of liking. I wasn't sure. I was on the fence about this one. So this is nice. It is nice. I have a lot of floral fragrances. I have a lot of white floral fragrances. And this one is unique because there is something fresh in here. So before I even looked at the notes, I made some notes when I was smelling some of the fragrances, and I wrote that this smells like I'm out in a field smelling flowers, the stem, very natural on a breezy day. There's something fresh. There's a breeze in the air. When I checked out the notes, there's an air accord. Whatever that translates to, I'm not sure. But to my nose, I did get a floral bouquet, green, white flowers, and sunshine, and a breeze in the air. So if the air accord is in there to give that sort of vibe, I assume it is, they were very successful. So it's an interesting fragrance with a ton of white florals. I think there's orange blossom, there's jasmine, there's tuberose in here. There's also datura, which is a flower that I only recently sort of discovered with Datura Noir by the House of Serge Lutens, and I'm a fan of it. But there is something musky in here as well. So I do want to mention that there is a musk in the base of this fragrance that definitely gives a little bit of something sharp. It's either the musk or it's the air accord, but there is something a little bit sharp in the fragrance, so it doesn't come off as smooth. It comes off a little bit rough around the edges. That's the only thing with this one. I would not necessarily go for a full bottle of this, if I'm being honest. It's nice to experience it, to smell it, to talk about it. The air accord is interesting, but there is something in here that's bothering me. The white floral aspect is nice. I think there's gardenia in here as well. I think I left that out of the list of white florals. It's nice, but not a love for me. The next one is called Xanab Oud. So I assume that there is oud in the fragrance. I don't remember what this one smells like for some reason. So I'm picking up a very dry, sort of woody, aromatic fragrance. I feel like I'm getting something a little bit boozy in here. Aromatic, boozy, not really oudy. Oud has a very, very specific, whether it's a westernized oud or a skanky oud, I'm not getting either one. I'm just getting a sort of woody aspect in the fragrance. It reminds me of something like Javois Pavilion Rouge, which I really like a dusty, sort of dry, a little bit boozy, woody fragrance with some spices. Very, very smooth. This is nice. It's not strong. It's not dark. By the name, you would think that it might be something predominantly oudy, and it's not. It seems a little bit leathery, maybe. There's like a texture, but not a dark, predominant leather note in the fragrance. Just something a little bit textured. Something very smooth that comes along with this sort of dry scent profile. I like this. It does remind me of Pavilion Rouge by the House of Javois, and I came close to buying that fragrance many, many times. I think there are florals in here as well. So there is rose. It's not really a floral fragrance. There's cardamom, there is pimento. Oh, there is Italian suede in the base with patchouli. There's jasmine as well. Everything is sort of dosed very minimalistically, if that makes sense. So it's like a little bit of something woody. It's like a little bit of something almost boozy. It's like just a touch of something maybe a little bit aromatic. The florals in here are barely detectable as florals. It's nice. It's a nice fragrance. If you like Pavilion Rouge, you might want to get your nose on this one. But then again, when you consider the price point, I would probably go for Pavilion Rouge, if I'm being honest. But this one is nice. Xanab Oud. So the next one is one that I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing. Reine des Anges. Reine des Anges. This one I don't remember smelling. I don't remember what it smells like. I did smell this. I think I sprayed all of them at one point, but I can't recall what this one smells like either. The ones I remember are the ones that are either on my wish list or the one that I have a full bottle of. Ah, okay. This one is nice. This opens as a dark, very velvety, very dark red rose. Velvety, rich red rose with patchouli. Very rich, very aromatic. There are spices in here. This is a very rich rose / patchouli fragrance. I know it's been done. This is nice though. I do remember, I had this on skin, and I remember sort of thinking as the fragrance dries down, that richness, that bold opening, the darkness that comes along with the opening sort of subsides, and you get more of like a powdery sort of rosy, and the patchouli is a little bit less prominent as well, and you get something a little bit more dusty, powdery. It's still rosy, it's still aromatic, and there's still that rose patchouli combination. But in the opening, I get the image of a black strapless gown and diamond earrings, like pendant diamond earrings, wearing this type of fragrance to go to a dressy event, that sort of thing. That's what the opening sort of gives me the image of. Now there is something in here that's musky, and it comes from the ambrette. There is a rosy ambrette fragrance by the House of Parfum d'Empire called L'Ecrit. I have a bottle of that one at the suggestion of one of you guys who made a comment about that fragrance. I ended up purchasing a partial. I really, really like it. I feel like this takes L'Ecrit, the scent profile, that musky ambrette seed rosiness, to a full-bodied, sort of darker, richer direction, a more dressy direction. I feel like this is the dressy, darker version of something like L'Ecrit by Parfum d'Empire. The ambrette in here comes off like a little bit musky. And I love that, and I detect it, and I really like it. Give something a little bit fizzy to the rose in here. So this is a nice one. Would I purchase a bottle of this? Probably not. I have Parfum d'Empires L'Écrit. I have La Douleur Exquise by Les Extraits. I have Portrait of a Lady. I'm not saying that this one is identical. This is definitely different, but given that I have those scent profiles already, I have things in the sort of wheelhouse, I would not rush to get a bottle of this. If I saw a partial of this, would I purchase it? If I saw a secondhand bottle, would I go for it at a good price? Maybe. It's a nice one. So the next one is La La Love, and this is the one that I do have a full bottle of. And this is the 50 ml size bottle. The 50 ml size bottle, like we said, is close to $400. I purchased it from someone brand new, totally full, with the box for $170. So I'm pretty happy. I feel like the packaging is pretty minimalistic. I'm not sure if I'm crazy about this ball as a cap. Very heavy, definitely a heavy cap. It's not magnetic. It's very simple in terms of the label. So there's really nothing super frilly about the packaging here, which is fine. I'm totally okay with that. So La La Love is, I would describe it as an amber fragrance, and it's definitely not like any other amber fragrance that I have in my collection. Now, it took me about 4 or 5 wears to realize what it is that makes this one different from the others, or what it was in this fragrance that I was getting a large dose of, in addition to the resinous sort of balsamic ambery scent profile that comes along with this amber. And I finally figured it out, and that is saffron. So to like this amber, you have to like saffron. If you know some of the fragrances by the house of Carolina Herrera, the Confidentials line, a lot of those have a lot of sweetness, but a lot of those fragrances have a lot of that sort of saffron-y sort of sweetness. This one is not as sweet as some of those fragrances, like Saffron Lazuli, but that saffron element, that sort of syrupy nature in the fragrance, slightly synthetic, I will admit, slightly synthetic. I pick it up here, and I pick it up in some of those Carolina Herrera fragrances. It reminds me of that. So that just gives you an idea of the saffron in this fragrance. I'm not saying that this one smells like any of the Carolina Herrera fragrances. I'm just saying that there is a good dose of saffron in here, but there is predominantly the amber scent profile. That's what you get. I mean, this is an amber, balsamic, resinous, sweet. I find it syrupy. I find it thick. You have to like that sort of consistency, the way it wears on skin. There is no air in the fragrance. It doesn't lift. It feels like everything is close together. The sweetness in here is, I would say, it's not too sweet. It's not a sugary sweetness, but there is a good amount of sweetness, but it's a darkened sweetness. There is vanilla. There is tonka bean. There is something a little bit spicy from the nutmeg, but not overly spicy. Yeah, there's something almost boozy about how thick the sort of amber scent profile is in here, along with the saffron. So it's almost like an amber with saffron with boozy touches. And it's an enjoyable, warm fragrance for the cold weather. It definitely does have a good amount of sweetness as I'm smelling it off the blotter. But you have to like saffron. That's my take. I'm not sure if others are getting what I get. I think you have to like saffron to like this amber. So that is La La Love. The next one is a popular one. This is Cosmic Cowboy. I like this one. I think that I would like to maybe put this on my wish list. I like this. I do like this. I get booze. I get a dry fragrance. It's a boozy fragrance. There's some sweetness in here. I think the note is whiskey, but then there's also something very sort of smooth and buttery. There's orris butter in here. So I feel like there's something definitely buttery about the fragrance and very smooth. Now, the tobacco in here does not smell smoky or dark. Even though there's whiskey, even though there's tobacco, it comes off almost a little bit fresh, like a very natural sort of green tobacco leaf. I get ambery touches as the fragrance develops. This is really nice. Now that I'm getting my nose on it again, it's really nice. I get a lot of tonka bean. I feel like there's powderiness from the tonka bean. So I do remember thinking that the orris fruit is giving butteriness to the fragrance. The tonka bean is giving a powderiness to the fragrance and a sweetness. And I remember thinking that the notes like the whiskey and the tobacco, you would think that they might be dark, but they're actually not. They're sort of hinted at in the fragrance. So this is not as thick and syrupy as La La Love. The notes are not as close together as the notes in La La Love. This is more like a few of the fragrances in the house of Violet Parfum, Maison Violet, Un Air d'Apogée, that sort of powdery, sort of tonka bean, tobacco-y fragrance. And then you have Sketch, which also has loads of tonka bean. I feel like the fragrances have a certain DNA. There's like a powderiness to the fragrances. I think it comes from the tonka bean. And I feel like I get that, just a little bit of that in here. And I definitely get the boozy component, but it's not dark. It almost feels watery and ambery in color. So this is nice. This is a nice one. Yeah, it's not dark considering some of the notes. If you look at the note listing, you might think that this one might be strong and dark and maybe overpowering. Even though it's an extrait, it's not. I'm not sure about performance. I did not do a full day wear of this one, but I think I'm going to take the sample of this one and wear it as my scent of the day and try it out. This is really nice. So that's Cosmic Cowboy. And last but not least, probably my favorite, even though I have La La Love. La La Love, as you might guess, I didn't pass up the great price. I like it. But if I could find this one at that price, it would be mine yesterday. I absolutely love this one. This is Room Number. And this is a Palo Santo fragrance. Now, I always hated Palo Santo in fragrance. Now I love Palo Santo in fragrance. It is very meditative. There is something sort of spiritual about that sort of wood, that sort of fragrance in a perfume. And yes, Celine does have a nice one, but I think this is the one that I want to go with because I tried the Celine Eau de Californie and I may get it one day, but I feel like the performance is just terrible. So this one, oh, I love this. This is beautiful. This is so smooth. It is creamy. It's woody. It's slightly powdery. It's Palo Santo at the forefront, I would say, with everything else around it, but it's soft and it's very round and blended so beautifully. I think there are little spicy touches as well in here. So this has bergamot, there's nutmeg, orris root. So you have this buttery orris root, pimento. There's black tea, which is not super prominent, but there is definitely something cozy about this fragrance and maybe just a little bit smoky, just a tad smoky and a little bit textured leathery, but not a strong leather, like the smoothest suede that you could imagine. I just love the Palo Santo. It's so smooth. It does seem like there's a little bit of sweetness in here, but not too much. And then in the base, there's leather, musk, Peru balsam, and vanilla. So the leather, like I said, it's not any strong sort of prominent note in the fragrance. At most, it's a texture. And that's what I like about this fragrance is you're not necessarily detecting the black tea. You may not necessarily detect the leather, but I do like how all of these notes are sort of complementing the Palo Santo in here. I love it. I really, really like this fragrance. I like the smoothness. It's soft, but at the same time, I think that it has nice longevity. I think that it wears nicely on skin. From my early impressions, I would say, because I don't have a full bottle of this one. So that is Room Number, and I think that is my favorite from the house of Perfumehead. So I really like La La Love. I really like Cosmic Cowboy. Although Cosmic Cowboy, I feel like, considering the price point, I feel like I could go into the house of Javois and maybe get something a little bit similar to that one. I like the rose patchouli fragrance, and my favorite is Room Number. So let me know in the comments if you guys are familiar with any of these fragrances from the house of Perfumehead. As always, thank you so much for watching, your support, and your comments. Until next time, bye guys.